Morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We're going to pick up with this kliyakar that we began yesterday. It's on Perek Yud Daled, Pasuk Daled. Just to remind everybody, there were basically three midrashic, Talmudic sources that he quoted. The first one was the story of the peddler that went around and said, "Who wants to buy the elixir of life?" And it was Mi'aisha Chafetz Chaim, the pasuk from Tehillim, that the person who desires life, Metzora Lashon Chamera, guard your tongue from bad. The second story was Rebbe Alexandri would announce who wants life, and he quoted this pasuk. And the third thing was a very interesting Gemara that spoke about, there was a machlokas, there was a dispute when we say that a Torah scholar should study Torah to stay away from Lashon Hara, and a person who's not a Torah scholar should work on the character trait of humility. There was a dispute in the Gemara. Are we saying these are things are to do once a person has said Lashon Hara, or are we saying that these are ways to stop from saying Lashon Hara in the first place? Now, what we left off with is this last source. The kliyakar explained that the real dispute is there ever such a thing as repairing the Lashon Hara that I said? And that was the nature of the dispute, in the sense that the person about whom I said it, it's never going to change for them. I mean, it's, I'm sitting at a Shabbos table and I say something very highly critical about a person. That's gone. I can't get it back. And who knows where those words go, and who knows where those impressions go. So one opinion says, look, if what you did can't be fixed, I don't know what you mean when you think that, just you do such and such and that it's all fixed in Shemayim, and what are you talking about? So the other opinion is a little bit more gentle, but that's where we're up to. Now, I don't know if anyone is still following along in this kliyakar. We've been on it for a while, but if you're following along, it's around halfway through the kliyakar. It's not where we left off yesterday. It's a few paragraphs after we left off, beginning with V'hinei Rebbe Alexandri. V'hinei Rebbe Alexandri sover gam hu siper ein lo tzakana. So Rebbe Alexandri, who was the one who walked around saying, "Who wants life?" he holds that once you say Lashon Hara, there's no way to repair that. Aukein lo halach kiem elakitos shelo sipru adayin. Rebbe Alexandri's focus group was the people who hadn't yet spoken Lashon Hara, like that opinion in the Gemara, that all the lessons are valuable for a person who hasn't yet gotten into Lashon Hara. Vayamashiram, he was urging them, mulamdam, and teaching them, derech shmiras habrios, the way to protect yourselves, shlo yavoli de Lashon Hara, so that they shouldn't come to Lashon Hara. Vayamachriz, and he announced, man boi chayi, who wants life? Lo hiskir Lashon sam. If you remember, we had asked the first source said there was a peddler walking around asking who wants the elixir of life. Rebbe Alexandri didn't ask who wants the elixir of life. He said who wants life. Gamlo hiskir lashon lemispan. He also didn't ask who wants to buy it. He just said who wants the advice. Because proactively being healthy does not require medications, right? It's only once we mess ourselves up that we require medications. You'll forget it. I don't need to tell all my strange stories. Raksha rofe malamdo lahoil sheyanishma min advar mamazikim shel yavel decholi. Rabbi Alexandri is saying, I want to tell you the key to a healthy spiritual life. The key to a healthy spiritual life. You don't need to buy it from me, and it's not an elixir. It's just a lifestyle. Don't say Lashon Hara. Okay, nachon shamalam divak yishchar advarav. That's why it's not for sale. If I'm giving you a product, so there was R&D for the product, there were ingredients that went into this product, there was labor that went into this product, it's only fair that you pay me for it. But if I'm just giving you some words to the wise, I shouldn't charge you for that. But a person who already fell into this illness, he needs medication. And by the way, if a person comes to the doctor and asks for meds, the pharmacy is going to charge him, and maybe the doctor will charge him too. He's working to provide him with the product. Man boy chai. He said it twice. Who wants life? Who wants life? The kafala Indian lomarlach sheish takanu lazesh lo yovel de sipur lashon hara ulazesh lo yisupra alav lashon hara. Really interesting. So the reason, says the Kli Yakar, the reason he asked twice, who wants life, is because actually the question is, who wants advice that will help them not say lashon hara, and who wants advice that will help them not have lashon hara said about them. In other words, if we're diligent not to say lashon hara, it's a great merit that we shouldn't have people say lashon hara about us. Achniv kulei alma. So everybody gathered around Rabbi Alexandri. The Amrule Havlon Chayin. They said to him, give us life. Because they wanted, everybody wanted it. Shekvar hisnagubo. Ubikshu leida derech hamevel de shmiras habrios. They want to tell us how to get into a healthy lifestyle. Everybody, whether it be people who hadn't yet gotten into this problem, or the people who were in this problem. Amalu pasuk. So we cited the pasuk who wants life, the one who guard your tongue from bad. If you shmiras habrios, eino tzarich shom sam. The same way that diligence in health doesn't need an elixir. Alkein masik shema tomar elech ve'agora b'shina linsor l'shoni b'sheva tasal gamrei Talmud lomar v'asei tov. If you remember, the end of Rabbi Alexandri's lesson was, so you might think, great, the key is not saying lashon hara. I'm going to go to sleep, and I'm just going to, stay in my room, on social, well, not on social media, probably. I'm going to stay away from lashon hara, but I'm just going to, read stuff, or I don't know, I'll sleep. So he says, no, that's not enough. You also have to connect the Torah, because if it's an approach to life, no matter how careful you are about not doing bad things, it's not enough to not do bad things. We have to condition ourselves to do positive, good things. That's the story of Rebbe Alexandri, skipping a few lines. But the peddler, the peddler had a different approach. The peddler was like the other opinion in the Gemara. The peddler said, this is not only for people who are starting off the path of life, and I want to give them advice not to get into lashon hara. This is also advice for people who have gotten into lashon hara. He knew it from his own experiences. Because he was a person who would go from place to place. And it says the Kli Yakar, it's not a coincidence. Rochel means a peddler, but Rochel is highly connected to the term Rechilus. Rechilus is the person who spreads negative information from one person to another. You know what so-and-so said about you. So the idea is it's like a gospel. It's like he peddles things from person to person. But this Rochel is a dual meaning. It's a person who was going around from place to place, but it's also a person who he himself, through his practice, would spread negative information from one person to another. So he's in a position to believe that this can be positive advice for moving forward. She's Kirazal Talmud Chacham Talmud Torah. So this person worked hard at this, and he wanted to be a better person. So he thought about the advice that the Gemara gives, that if it's a scholar, learn more Torah. If it's a regular person, try to be more humble. And the person was able to change through these practices. Therefore, his heart was filled to bring merit to the masses. The idea is the language is he went from place to place. You know why he went from place to place? Because he knew the route. He knew where you would go to hear this about this one and tell that to that one, because he had done it himself in his travels. So he had modified his activities. He had improved himself. So he wants to go to these people so they can work on it. And that they would need to purify themselves with the korbanos of the birds. This is what's meant when it says, remember the language was so strange. He went by the towns near the place called Tzipori. What do I care what town it was near? So he says there's that's a play on words. That's a reference. Tzipor is a bird. Remember, we said that it's significant that the korban, the sacrifice for the person who has tzaras, is the birds, because the birds chirp, chirp, chirp. That's how people are with lashon hara. So the point is that he went to the places that he knew they were always schmoozing about people. So he went around specifically to the places that he knew there was a lot of gossip. And he announced, Man boy l'mizban sam chayim, who wants to buy the elixir of life? Because these people were like sick people that needed a medication, that needed something to fix them, because he knew the stops. He knew where there was lashon hara. Therefore, his language is who wants to buy the elixir. That's why he doesn't say this thing about lest you think you can just go to sleep. Because he's not talking to people about a path of life. He's not talking to people about a path of life. He's talking to people who are already bound up in lashon hara and the like. Okay. Let's keep on going. Now, skipping a few paragraphs. Remember, we had this thing was so strange. So the peddler came and said, "Who wants to buy the elixir of life?" And he quoted this pasuk from Tehillim, and Rabbi Yanai was like mesmerized. This is wow! I never really understood this pasuk. What do you mean you never understood this pasuk? It's an obvious pasuk, straightforward. Ki yisaver shasiper ein lo takana, because he thought that a person who said lashon hara, that's it. There's no hope for the person. There's no hope for the person. Like that opinion in the Gemara. It said, are you kidding? You can't fix the fact that he said lashon hara. And therefore he didn't quite understand why Shlomo had his own pasuk to talk about lashon hara and saying right things. But now Rabbi Yanai understood, because Rabbi Yanai understood from the peddler that the pasuk in Tehillim is advice to a person who has spoken lashon hara, who wants to change. And what this peddler was saying from personal experience is that a person can change through just being diligent about not saying bad things in the future, whether it be the study of Torah. Just be diligent about not saying bad things in the future. So then Rabbi Yanai was mesmerized by that. Wow. I mean, a person can actually change. And that was the intent of the pasuk in Tehillim. And then he says, and now I understand what Shlomo Melech meant. Because Shlomo Melech, who also talks about guarding one's tongue, is talking about a path to life before one has a problem. Okay, I think that's all for this Kli Yakar. We didn't do all of it, but I think we're going to be done with it now. I think it's an interesting idea. It's an interesting exploration of two very famous Talmudic stories. So I hope it's been edifying for people.